We recently talked about the unhinged speech Donald Trump gave during what most of us would call the State of the Union address. And as is tradition, normally the opposing party comes out and they will issue some sort of response or a kind of rebuttal to the president. Many of you may remember that Katie Britt was tasked with giving the response a year or two ago, and she gave a very creepy and weird speech from her kitchen that just did not land well with the American people. Now, this year, Elissa Slotkin was selected by the Democrats to give this speech, and I would imagine she was probably selected because she was just elected in Michigan on the same ticket that Donald Trump was, which means people were voting for Donald Trump and Elissa Slotkin. So maybe they were trying to target the middle or the center or however you might want to define that. So I would imagine that's probably why she was picked to do this. But let's go ahead and take a look at what she had to say. She kind of broke her speech up into three separate parts. She talked about the economy, she talked about national security, and then to finish things off, she talked about our democracy and what we can be doing to participate in that democracy. Let's go ahead and kick things off with her talking about focusing on the economy in Trump's America.
Let's start with the economy. Michigan literally invented the middle class, the revolutionary idea that you could work at an auto plant and afford the car you were building. That's the American dream. And in order to expand and protect the middle class, we have to do a few basic things. We need to bring down the price of things we spend the most money on: groceries, housing, healthcare. We need to make more things in America with good-paying union jobs and bring our supply chains back home from places like China. We need to give American businesses the certainty they need to invest and create the jobs of the future. And we need a tax system that's fair for people who don't happen to make $1 billion. Look, the president talked a big game on the economy, but it's always important to read the fine print. So, do his plans actually help Americans get ahead? Not even close.
I think this is the exact right question to ask. Is Donald Trump doing anything right now that is bringing prices down, that is making more certainty for the business environment, or is he doing things like issuing tariffs and self-inflicted trade wars because he has some conspiracy understanding of how tariffs actually work? Donald Trump seems like he's doing everything in his power right now to make life harder for the American people, and especially when it comes to the economy. We are seeing some pretty troubling news coming out of like the Atlanta Fed, where they have just revised the GDP down like a 2.5%, which is absolutely bonkers considering that Donald Trump claimed that he was going to come into office and that he was going to fix the economy on day one. But now we've got egg prices that have never been higher. We've got inflation on the rise, and Donald Trump doesn't seem to be doing anything to address these issues. Instead, he is focusing on all these pet issues that only affect him and his billionaire buddies. Donald Trump is not working for the American people, and I think Elissa Slotkin is right to point that out. She goes on to say that these giveaways to billionaires, they're actually taking from you, the average American.
President Trump is trying to deliver an unprecedented giveaway to his billionaire friends. He's on the hunt to find trillions of dollars to pass along to the wealthiest in America. And to do that, he's going to make you pay in every part of your life. Grocery and home prices are going up, not down, and he hasn't laid out a credible plan to deal with either of those. His tariffs on allies like Canada will raise prices on energy, lumber, and cars, and start a trade war that will hurt manufacturing and farmers. Your premiums and prescriptions will cost more because the math on his proposals doesn't work without going after your health care. Meanwhile, for those keeping score, the national debt is going up, not down. And if he's not careful, he could walk us right into a recession. And one more thing. In order to pay for his plan, he could very well come after your retirement, the Social Security, Medicare, and VA benefits you worked your whole life to earn. The president claims he won't, but Elon Musk just called Social Security the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time.
Yeah, he absolutely did say that, and now we know that they have fired thousands of people from the Social Security Administration, and now it is looking more and more plausible that checks are going to go out late or they're going to be missed, all because Donald Trump has tasked Elon with tearing our government down from the inside out. But she's also focusing here on the budget that the House just proposed that Donald Trump signed on to that is going to increase the deficits by $2.5 trillion while giving $4.5 trillion of tax cuts to the billionaire class. These are not the things that are going to help the average American. And now we know they're operating under this waste, fraud, and abuse conspiracy to try to go after things like Medicaid. I mean, the budget itself has $880 billion of cuts that can only come out of Medicaid. There's another $230 billion that would reduce food assistance. They've got cuts in federal pensions. I mean, these are not the things that are going to help the American people. Donald Trump is doing giveaways to his billionaire buddies while hurting everyday Americans. So I think it's his right to focus on this stuff. Donald Trump seems to be doing all in his power to make life harder for the rest of us, while him and his billionaire buddies are just lining their pockets. She then goes on to call out Elon Musk directly here and his gang of idiots.
While we're on the subject of Elon Musk, is there anyone in America who is comfortable with him and his gang of 20-year-olds using their own computer servers to poke through your tax returns, your health information, and your bank accounts? No oversight, no protections against cyber attack, no guardrails on what they do with your private data. We need a more efficient government. You want to cut waste? I'll help you do it. But change doesn't need to be chaotic or make us less safe. The mindless firing of people who work to protect our nuclear weapons, keep our planes from crashing, and conduct the research that finds the cure for cancer, only to rehire them 2 days later? No CEO in America could do that without being summarily fired.
That is the understatement of a lifetime. If there was a CEO that came in and acted like Elon Musk is acting as far as the federal government goes, he would be wiped out so fast, it wouldn't even be funny. What he is doing is absolutely insane. He's going into agencies, he's firing tens of thousands of people. Oh, then he realizes that some of those people are absolutely essential for things like our nuclear stockpile. So then he has to try to hire them back. But oh, you disconnected them from their email address and now you don't have updated contact information. What she's pointing out here is the sheer incompetence of this administration. It has been one disaster after another, and we are firing tens of thousands of federal workers that are now going into the job market. We have Donald Trump issuing trade wars against our allies and our biggest trading partners. Again, it seems like everything they are doing is going to make life harder for me and for you. This is not what the president is supposed to be doing. This is not what he promised to do. We have been hoodwinked as America. And it is my hope that people in the MAGA movement really start to wake up and realize what is actually going on here. The billionaire class is doing a hostile takeover of this country, and they are screwing the rest of us to do it. She then goes on to talk about national security, and she does start off with the border, but we've heard that pitch before. But I did want to point out this one thing as she calls out Trump for the absolute disaster meeting in the Oval Office with Volodymyr Zelensky.
President Trump loves to say peace through strength. That's actually a line he stole from Ronald Reagan. But let me tell you, after the spectacle that just took place in the Oval Office last week, Reagan must be rolling in his grave. We all want an end to the war in Ukraine, but Reagan understood that true strength required America to combine our military and economic might with moral clarity. And that scene in the Oval Office wasn't just a bad episode of reality TV. It summed up Trump's whole approach to the world. He believes in cozying up to dictators like Vladimir Putin and kicking our friends like the Canadians in the teeth. He sees American leadership as merely a series of real estate transactions. As a Cold War kid, I'm thankful it was Reagan and not Trump in office in the 1980s. Trump would have lost us the Cold War.
No truer words have been spoken. What we have been seeing from Donald Trump as far as foreign policy goes has been an absolute nightmare. Nowhere in there is this peace through strength mantra that he continues to spout off at the mouth. Donald Trump is not strong. He's trying to operate like a strong man and bully other people around. And he is doing that by, like she said, kicking our allies in the teeth. He is destroying the long-running relationships between Canada and Mexico. He's threatening to invade Greenland. He's kicking Zelensky in the mouth by parroting Russian talking points in the Oval Office and excluding him from peace talks with Russia. Donald Trump is a disaster. He is destroying all of the goodwill that we have built up since World War II because he wants to align us with Russia. That is Donald Trump's main goal. And so what we are seeing from him is lazy, it is disgusting, and it's just a betrayal of all of the values that this country was actually founded on, especially when we're talking about post-World War II. The United States has spent decades, almost 100 years now, building these relationships all across the globe, building relationships in here, like establishing military bases, keeping the peace. And Donald Trump is just crapping all over that. And this is not the type of America that I want to live in. I do not want to live in a Russia. I do not want to live in a Hungary. I enjoy the democratic values that this country was founded on, but Donald Trump is trying to rip those all away. And as she addresses, her final point of democracy, she also gives some pointers on how we can go about interacting with democracy and trying to save it, so to speak.
Don't for one moment fool yourself that democracy isn't precious and worth saving. But how do we actually do that? I know a lot of you have been asking that question. First, don't tune out. It's easy to be exhausted, but America needs you now more than ever. If previous generations had not fought for this democracy, where would we be today? Second, hold your elected officials, including me, accountable. Watch how they're voting. Go to town halls and demand they take action. That's as American as apple pie. Third, organize. Pick just one issue you're passionate about and engage. And doom scrolling doesn't count. Join a group that cares about your issue and act. And if you can't find one, start one. Some of the most important movements in our history have come from the bottom up.
Now, I think these are all great pieces of advice. Organizing, holding your elected leaders accountable. I do think there is a large portion of this country that is still very much into our democratic values, and I hope this type of messaging will resonate with those groups of people because we really need to establish a true opposition party against this authoritarian takeover. But as of now, we are not seeing one. So we do need to remember that our democratic values are important. We need to be doing what we can to bolster our democracy. We need to get out there and organize. We need to write postcards. We need to make phone calls. We need to do whatever we can to push back against this administration. So I thought overall, this speech was fine. I think Elissa Slotkin is a little bit too centery to me. I really wish that a Jasmine Crockett or an AOC would deliver these types of messages because there is just something about Elissa Slotkin's message. I think she's hitting all of the right talking points, but it's delivered in a way that doesn't have a whole bunch of emotional resonance, if that kind of makes sense. And I think somebody like Jasmine Crockett, she just has a way of delivering information that really makes you perk up and start to listen. So I really hope the Democratic Party can get on track and start going out there and putting these very strong voices front and center. I'm not saying that Elissa Slotkin isn't a strong voice, but there's just a different style, a more aggressiveness that comes from somebody like AOC or Jasmine Crockett and Chris Murphy. So I think that is what this moment calls for. I do think the speech was fine. I think she hit on all the right points. She's focusing on the economy, our national security, and abandoning our allies, and then, of course, our democracy. I think these are the things that we should be talking about. And I think starting with the economy is the right thing to do. I think that is going to have the most play with the American people. So I do think the talking points are there. The message is correct. I just wish it was delivered in a bit more of an aggressive way. So I will leave it there for now. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We've got to build something here on the left that can adequately push back against this right-wing media ecosystem that just shovels shit for this Trump administration every single day. So if you do like what I do here, please do remember to subscribe. If you want to see how Donald Trump's polling is absolutely falling off a cliff as he becomes the most unpopular president since we've been doing presidential polling, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.